Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. My name is Denise Hutchins and I'm broadcasting to you from Studio Mikarts. Our charity of the month is Paloma Sea, and you can help me, help them, help the animals by donating to our fundraiser here on Twitch, visiting their website, which I posted in the chat, or simply by watching my streams and bringing your friends, because I'll be making my own donation at the end of the month based on my unique viewers count. If you enjoyed today's stream, please support my creative work by becoming a Twitch subscriber to remove ads and get cute emotes. Emotes. Joining my Patreon for illustrated postcards and prints in the mail, or sending me some creative fuel through Buy Me a Coffee. Links to all these can be found in my Twitch About section. Today is Thursday, which means it's time for illustration, and I am back to work on my 2025 Christmas card. So it's going to be an illustration made with watercolor and with collage and with digital media. I always use digital media and everything. So yesterday we left off on these cookies. These are the test cookies where I was figuring out what I wanted to do. These are the cookies as they dried since yesterday that I actually want to use in the final piece. So I'm looking at them and thinking about whether I want to add a little bit more. I think I do. The overall color and texture seems fine. Especially look at how interesting the texture is. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Sometimes if I put my fingers in there, it's like, oh, that's a finger. I'll focus on that, but it doesn't want to focus on this. Would you focus? There we go. Okay, you can see that nice, beautiful, organic watercolor texture. We got some up here too, and it turned out totally different, even though I used the same three colors, same brush, same paper, obviously. That's what's so fun about watercolor. So what I see now that it's dry, it's all sort of melded together so that the overall color and texture is great, but it doesn't feel as 3D as it could. Just realized I need to switch over to Twitch in case anyone decides to join me in chat today. So I am going to open up my reference image that I was using. Well, actually I have multiple for gingerbread cookies. I think this is the one I like the most, but these ones are really dark. This one's really pixelated though. This one, they're very, very thick gingerbreads. I feel like this is very European style gingerbread. Like, I don't know, it must have a lot of baking soda in it or something. These ones are more flat. So this is the one that I was using yesterday for inspiration for the color. Actually, there's not that much shadow when they're super flat like this. Just is really hard, like right here, just this little thin, hard edge. So the way I'll do that is by taking the dark shadow colored pencil that I've been using, this one. It's a dark brown, it's called Walnut Brown. Instead of drawing and then adding water, I'm going to do what I did at one point yesterday, which is get the brush wet and then pull color off of the brush. Let's see, I'm going to back this up so you can see what I'm doing, because I don't want to do it over the painting in case it decides to drip. But you take that wet brush and brush it on the watercolor pencil, and that just gets the color, pulls the pigment into the brush. I'm going to load it up. Maybe it would be better if I did it over this towel. Because I'm seeing little, it's making little specks fly out as I do this. I'm trying to do it gently, but it's just the nature of the springy brush filaments. Okay, and so using my reference image, I don't need to, I want it to be even thinner. I want those to stick together. Don't need to be really, I don't know what the term is. I don't have to put the shadows everywhere. Just a few key places. Just to help it look three-dimensional. Oh, uncreative Emma! Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for resubscribing! Holy crap, 35 months! Woo! I would clap, but I've got this paint on my brush, and I don't want it to fly around. Thank you so much! How are you? Are you doing well this week? I hope so. I'm so glad you could join me today. Hooray! I don't know if you heard, but I'm working on the gingerbread cookies for my illustration. That's what this is. Using watercolor pencils. A little bit more here too. So I looked at the reference image for an idea, but then my final decisions are based on, well, what does this look like on the paper? Oh, wonderful. I'm always glad to hear you're doing all right. Yay! Yeah, the sleep is more important. I hope you've been getting good sleep. That is the base of everything I do every single day, is if I don't get enough sleep, a good night's sleep with and the consistency that I'm used to, then my whole rest of my day, it's like it's on hard mode. It's like I can get through it, but my life is so much better when I get good quality, consistent, lengthy sleep. So are you. Okay, so the top one, I think that's good. So let's do the bottom one. Adding the same, so I'm going to do it the same way, brushing the color off of the tip of the colored pencil with a wet, round watercolor paintbrush. And it shouldn't take as long this time because the tip of the pencil is already so soaked from the first round. In fact, it's like a little bit too much. I'm going to put it on the test side to just kind of take a little bit off. It's actually too much. There. Aw, I appreciate that so much. You didn't have to come here. So that means a lot to me that you decided to come by even though you don't have too much time. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you! Yay! I'm glad you think they look good. I hope that when they're in the final piece, they look like what they're supposed to. So the whole point is that they would be recognizable. Even if they're not recognizable as gingerbread cookies, if they're at least recognizable as a cookie, that's enough. That's good enough. As long as someone says, oh, look at those cookies. Doesn't matter what the flavor is. Wouldn't it be cool? I just had this random thought. Wouldn't it be cool if these could be scratch and sniff. And then people would get my card in the mail and they'd open it and they could scratch the cookie and this gingerbread smell would come out. I think that would be really cool. I have no idea how that... I don't know how scratch and sniff works. They don't do it too much. It's like this rare thing that you sometimes encounter. Scratch and sniff, whatever. That would be so good. Or even if it was just, you don't even have to scratch. That if it could just be gingerbread scented, and you open, not too strong, just this lovely, you open the card or you open the envelope and it's just this gentle, like, oh, what is that nice smell? Are you, you call it to someone in the kitchen, are you baking something? No, it's this card that you just got in the mail. That would be really fun. It's a little bit less straightforward how to shade this one because it's more round shapes. But I'm trying to get the same light source, the same idea. If I can just suggest the same light source. It doesn't have to be perfect light logic. That's what I've found is one of those perfectionistic things in the creative world. People want to critique everything, and it can be helpful up to a point, but when you critique so much that you lose sight of the question, is it effective? What was the desired outcome that the artist had? So critiquing everything so thoroughly is not always productive or conducive to creating good art, because good art isn't perfect, it's effective. So I'm learning to let go a little bit of that perfection, because I just have plain old perfectionism. Sometimes it still finds its way into my life, and I'm like, oh wait, this is perfectionism. No, let's step back from that. So that's why I'm not worrying too much about whether these are actually shaded in a way that would make sense in the environment. The overall effect is, does it look like a cookie? If yes, then good. That's all I need. Oh, you're loving that winter is coming? Oh, me too. Oh my god, I love it. I wore 4 layers today and still got cold. It made me so happy. I was just thinking the same thing. You know what thought I had? It was either yesterday or today. So glad we're on the same wavelength here. This is awesome because I love it too. I realized that I love being warm, but that also means I love being cold because I love getting warm. And I'd never thought of it that way. I always thought, oh, I hate being cold. And I always said that too. I hate being cold. But actually, I love being cold because that's an excuse to put on my 4 layers and get out my electric blanket and my battery-powered warming vest and make hot cocoa every single day and all this kind of stuff. So actually, I love being warm. I love being hot even. And I also love getting warm. So, same. Is it just, what's the weather been like over there? Over here, it's getting cool, but the days this week have still been quite warm. Yesterday it got really, really warm. But it says it's going to cool back down, but it's getting cold. It's still cold overnight. Overnight, it's still so cold that we put the blankets on the bed. All summer, we just had this really thin, like, waffle blanket on. But now I've got waffle blanket on, Midoriya Izuku blanket from My Hero Academia, like a throw-size blanket. And then we've got a quilt on, that Sarah quilt from Twitch here made me a long time ago. Ah, I am jealous. I am so jealous. It says it might rain here. It might rain here this weekend. Please give me your rain. I want the rain. The rain is my favorite. You're so lucky. Is it totally dreamy with all of the deciduous trees changing their leaves colors, and some are falling and they're scattered across the ground, and then the wind blows, but it's like drizzly, so the leaves don't blow too far. And is it like that? That's my favorite. That is, if every day was like that, I would be so happy. Even in a like Groundhog Day kind of situation, I think I'd still be happy if it was rainy and murky every single day. I still think I'd be happy. I don't think I'd get bored of it. Okay, I've got those borders done. Well, not borders, but the shadow. Little extra bits of shadow. What else? Anything else I want to do? Because the next thing would be add white gouache or ink or something. I still haven't decided what, but adding the frosting kind of like these. Oh, is that the one where you take the picture? Where you've been taking the picture like every week or every 2 weeks or something? Ah! I'm so excited! I'm not even over there. Just imagining it makes me super excited. Oh, it is! Yay! I have been enjoying my own little space here. Our cherry tree is... We have a big poplar tree, a big maple tree, and an apple tree, a cherry tree, and an aspen grove, a little tiny one. I wouldn't even call it a grove yet. It's just like a little couple feet of aspen sprouts. But the cherry tree is the most obvious to me when I go outside, because the leaves are really big too, so they're really obvious. They're getting yellow. They're falling on the ground. So it's changing here too. It's my favorite. Autumn's my favorite season. I'm like totally jazzed up right now just because talking about my favorite time of year. Gotta get a drink of water because I'm so stoked. Okay. I feel like I want to see if I can lighten up the shadow a little bit or soften it. Rather than lighten, let's soften it. It went on really dark and really hard on this top cookie. I'm going to soften it more like what happened with the bottom cookie. So I'm just going to add a little water and hopefully that will fan out a bit. I say hopefully, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Pretty sure. Just like I said yesterday, it's great knowing that it doesn't matter if I stay in the lines perfectly, because I'm going to cut the final version out for the collage anyway. It gives me a little bit more freedom to just put the marks on the paper. Not that I don't have that freedom normally, I just have this idea of what I want it to look like. So I can get that look in more ways than one. One is precise painting. Another one is cut out the excess. Okay. I'm just wondering about the lightness of the cookies. Do I want to leave them this light? There's so many, I have so many different gingerbreads here, and we've got a range of colors. So these ones are slightly darker than what we've got here. But on the other end, there's these ones, and they're pretty much, well, you can't tell on the page versus the screen doesn't come out right on the stream here, but this reference image is very close to what I'm seeing here. So do I want to paint it some more or call it good being this light? I kind of don't want to lose that nice texture. Then again, I'm going to paint over the texture anyway. Oh, Emma has to go. Okay. Have a great sleep. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with me and getting me jazzed up over autumn. Thank you so much. See you next time. Sweet dreams. Bye-bye. I think I will paint a little bit more. Because even when I'm looking at these light ones, I'm seeing that effect again. Where the end points, so with them being baked, since they're cookies, these end points where there's not that much material, they get baked much faster, so they get darker than this middle part. Here, I have that happening a little bit, but we could take it farther. So I think I'm going to do that. And how will I do it? Could try adding a little more of this one. This one is all wet now. I don't want to use this one. There's the orange. Well, let's just try this one. It's the tawny brown. Still more of that yellow brown, but I don't want to. If I put this walnut brown on the page with the tip being so wet, it's not going to look, it's not going to give me this smooth look that I got from the first application yesterday. So let's try just adding more of this tawny brown. I'm going to put it really thick on these end pieces and then drag it out into the middle. Cool thing with watercolor pencils is technically I could just leave it like this. I don't have to put watercolor on it. I mean, I don't have to put water on it. Could just leave it with that texture. But the watercolor part is the funnest part, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Trying not to get too much water because I don't want it to go all the way into the middle. I want to keep this darker part on the edges. Okay, now I'm going to try to gently blend it into the middle so that it doesn't get a really super hard edge. If you don't do this, it can get a really hard edge where the pigment is pulled. Water pulls to where there is no water. That's, I don't know, that's a basic principle in physics, I guess. There's a name for it. I learned it in biology, though. Anyway, that means it pulls the pigment with it. But then there's a point where the air pressure and then the texture of the paper and everything prevents the water from going farther. The water wants to keep going, so it's keep moving in that direction, so the pigment is pulled up to this edge where it can't go any farther, and then you get that hard line. And if you want that line, then yay, you know how to get it. But if you don't want that line, then gently patting with a damp, not wet, just a damp brush can help soften that so that that edge doesn't happen. So that's what I did there. So let's do the top one. Tackling that edge again. Gently softening it. And also blending it into the middle. So just like the baking in the cookie would be, as it gets closer to the middle, it will get lighter. There. Now these have got to dry before I decide whether I want to continue adding more paint, or if I think that's good and I'm ready to add the frosting. So let's read some more poems from Falling Up, Poems and Drawings by Shel Silverstein. So cool. I don't know why I never thought of this before. I don't know for how long I'm going to be surprised about it. This one's called Turkey, with a question mark. I only ate one drumstick at the picnic dance this summer. Just one little drumstick. They say I couldn't be dumber. One tough and skinny drumstick. Why was that such a bummer? But everybody's mad at me. Especially the drummer. Another one where you don't necessarily need, because you've got the title, Turkey, so that gives you an idea of what the mistake could be, but this one, the illustration really helps drive it home. Another example of the illustration and text working together. This one's called Long Leg Lou and Short Leg Sue, and the illustration goes all the way down here. Long Leg Lou and Short Leg Sue went for a walk down the avenue, laughing and joking like good friends do. Long Leg Lou and Short Leg Sue. Says Long Leg Lou to Short Leg Sue, "Can't you walk faster than you do? It really drives me out of my mind that I'm always in front and you're always behind." Says Short Leg Sue to Long Leg Lou, "I walk as fast as I'm meant to do. Then I'll go walking with someone new," says Long Leg Lou to Short Leg Sue. Now Long Leg Lou, he walks alone, looking for someone with legs like his own. And sometimes he thinks of those warm afternoons back when he went walking with Short Leg Sue. And Short Leg Sue strolls down the street, hand in hand with Slow-Foot Pete. And they take small steps and they do just fine. And no one's in front and no one's behind. Testing for dryness. This one's pretty close. Let's read these two and then probably I'll be able to get going on this one. This one's called My Robot. I told my robot to do my biddin'. He yawned and said, "You must be kiddin'." I told my robot to cook me a stew. He said, "I got better things to do." I told my robot to sweep my shack. He said, "You want me to strain my back?" I told my robot to answer the phone. He said, "I must make some calls of my own." I told my robot to brew me some tea. He said, "Why don't you make tea for me?" I told my robot to boil me an egg. He said, "First, let me hear you beg." I told my robot, "There's a song you can play me." He said, "How much are you gonna pay me?" So I sold that robot, 'cause I never knew exactly who belonged to who. This one's called The Deadly Eye. It's the deadly eye of Poogly Pie. Look away as you walk by, 'cause whoever looks right at it surely will die. It's a good thing you didn't. You did? Goodbye. Wow, that's a dark one. This is an example of the illustration not really being necessary at all to the text. I think it doesn't really add anything other than just literally depicting an eyeball. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just there's a variety of uses of illustration in this book, so it's interesting to note them. But I think that's been long enough. Yeah, this feels nice and dry. So that definitely created a nice darker edge, like what I was seeing in my reference images. Do I want to take it further though? That's the next question. I think I might, but I'll just put a little bit of this darkest brown on the very tippy tips, and I'll do the same thing I did with the tawny color, but I'll use this walnut brown. I'm going to try to apply it really light because it's still very soft from having the water applied directly to it earlier to make the hard shadows. So let's see about this. Man, if we get through where the sidewalk ends, or no, that one's falling up. If we get through falling up, I might want to read my scary stories book, because that's another one from that grade school scholastic book fair era that I just loved. And I bought the Treasury version that came out, I don't know, decades later? I don't know when it came out, but I was stoked when I found it. I was like, yes! Because I think I was able to get one of the books. Or no, I remember. I was able to get a different Scary Stories book. But it wasn't... It was sort of like a off-brand kind. Like, it wasn't as good as that main one that I wanted, but we didn't have money when I was a kid, so my parents would give me enough money to get like one book at the book fair, and it was usually a really cheap book, so I couldn't afford the Scary Stories books, but they were usually in the library, but they were also so popular they were always checked out, so I was able to read them once or twice, but I wasn't able to really, like, I don't know, and I love it. Even today, as an adult, I still love those books. And I love these poem books, too, from the same thing. It's just it's so great. It's so great when stuff that was great in childhood is still awesome in adulthood, because that doesn't always happen, I've found, unfortunately. There's been movies and stuff that when I was a kid I watched obsessively. Then I became a teenager, didn't watch it anymore, 20s or whatever, and when I finally did watch it again, I was like, ugh, this movie is terrible. Why did I like it as a kid? It's because I didn't have as much life experience, I guess, and anything was entertaining. So that's why it's great when some things I still love just as much, even as an adult, even with all my world experience or whatever it is. Even with my more refined tastes, I guess you could say. Although, refined taste is a kind of interesting term to use when you're talking about those scary stories books, because they're kind of not exactly vulgar, but I don't know, in a way they're kind of vulgar. But yeah, anyway, let's finish this poetry book first. It's so fun. It's such a great way to pass the time when waiting for the paint to dry. So let these dry, and then I think I actually want to keep adding. I don't know if I want to add more of this one or more of this one. But I don't want to overbake my cookies. Let's let them dry. Let's read another couple poems. Let these dry. It's cool to see against the tests. The test, I just kind of figured out which colors to apply and was experimenting with how to apply them, but you can see how much nicer the final versions look. And I'm still not done with them yet. Still waiting to see. The next one's called The Voice, and I don't think the illustrations apply to it, so I'll wait for the next one. The Voice. There is a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. I feel that this is right for me. I know that this is wrong. No teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. Oh, that's a good one. That's not just for kids. That's for everybody. This is a great. So I'm always thinking about this. So many aspects of my life are self-directed, which sounds great, but in practice, it's actually really hard to always make decisions about every aspect of my life without any guidance and sort of cognitive support or something. So this voice here, yeah, I'm always practicing listening to the voice. And also, it doesn't mention this, but sometimes you have multiple voices. You have to decide which one to listen to. Here's the other one. Mary Lou's Ride. Here's the picture. And then you've got all these people down below. The swing swang, the rope snapped. The seat sailed and she flew. Her heart sang, her shirt flapped, her coat tailed, her hair blew. The bells rang, the crowd clapped. Her mom wailed and wept too. Then crash, bang, into her lap by airmail came Mary Lou. That's could be like kind of a dark ending, but it's not necessarily. It's like there's two interpretations. So crash into her lap by airmail, so into her lap probably means her mom. And her mom is wailing and crying. So does that mean by airmail means that Mary Lou crashed so bad that she was sent home in a box? Or does it just mean that she flew off the swing and landed in her mom's lap? It's like a really dark interpretation and a really cute interpretation. It's up to you to decide. Alright, that should be enough. I didn't apply very much paint and water, so yeah, it feels nice and dry. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more of the tawny brown. Just to the main part of the cookie. It still just seems a bit too light. Oh, laundry's done. Yay. It's close to break time. I gotta remember when I step out to put the laundry in the dryer. Okay. I think what's happening is I keep applying the paint and thinking, oh, that's good. That's good. But what happens with watercolor paint is it dries lighter than it is when it's wet. Personally, I think that's because, you know, when you make a paper wet, regardless of whether there's any paint, if you just use water, the paper itself gets darker. I think that's why it dries lighter, because it's actually the moisture drying out, so you're not having that darkness added in anymore. So let's let these dry. See, maybe that's enough pigment that I will feel happy with the cookie look, gingerbread cookie look. So I'll read you a couple more poems. This one's called The Monkey. And these drawings are so creepy sometimes. One, and this is Arabic numeral 1, one little monkey was going to the store. When he saw a banana 3, he'd never climbed before. By 5 o'clock that evening, he was 6 with a stomach ache, 'cause 7 green bananas was what that monkey ate. By 9 o'clock that evening, that monkey was quite ill. So 10 we called the doctor, who was 11 on the hill. The doctor said, "You're almost dead. Don't eat green bananas no more." The sick little monkey groaned and said, "But that's what I 1, 2, 3 for." I get it. Gosh, it's kind of hard. This one is a tough one, so we'll go through it again. So some of them are obvious. Was going to the store. That sounds exactly the same. When it's saying when he saw a banana 3, I think it's saying a banana tree. And then before is obvious. 5 o'clock's obvious. 6 instead of sick with a stomach ache. And then 7 is just 7. Monkey 8, that's another homonym, so 8, the number, and 8, the past tense of eat. 9, that's another number, so 10 we called the doctor. I think for 10 it means then, so then we called the doctor, who was 11 on the hill, so I think it means who was 11 on the hill. And then the last line, but that's what I won to the 3 for. I think it means that's what I went to the tree for. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to understand for me. Some of them were obvious. Other ones take a little bit more of a leap. This one's called imagining. Pretty creepy, some of these drawings. You're only just imagining a mouse is in your hair. You've got to stop imagining that mice are everywhere. I think you're just imagining to give yourself a scare. But trust me, dear, I wouldn't lie. There is no mouse up there. Yes, it's true. There's no mouse. Because it's a freaking elephant. Alright, that was probably enough time. Alright, gingerbread cookies. Are you good? I think I'm happy with them now. They might be the taddest bit. Is that a way of saying things? It is now. The taddest bit. They might be a tad bit still damp. But, so what I'm doing is testing how cold the paper feels versus painted versus unpainted. And it feels about the same, so that means it's pretty much dry, maybe a tiny bit of moisture left, but undetectable to me. And that means now I need to decide what kind of medium I want to use for the frosting. What kind of medium? I've got white ink, that's what I usually use. But I also have white acrylic paint. And somewhere I have some white gouache, but I think it's acrylic gouache. Let me see. Is this the one with the white gouache? Holbein gouache. Ah, yes it is. Is this one acrylic or is it actual gouache where it's watercolor? Interesting. It has this German sounding name, Holbein, but it's Japanese. Made in Japan. I like the idea of using gouache just because I rarely use it. So this is actual, so they have what's called acrylic gouache, but it's acrylic paint that's just a matte texture. Originally, gouache was opaque watercolor. That's interesting. The Japanese word for gouache is gashu. Gouache. Am I pronouncing it wrong? How do you pronounce gouache? It's just how everybody around me pronounced it. But Japanese, this is gashu. Is it supposed to be gosh instead of gouache? You know, I'm going to look up what is the etymology. Etymology gouache. So I've been saying it wrong all these years, or it comes from Italian guazzo, meaning mud or watery. The French adopted and Frenchified This is the AI summary. Frenchified this term to mean opaque watercolors in the 18th century. French word gouache eventually became an international term. This is cool. If this can be believed, it starts with the Latin root word aquatio, meaning watering or watering place, derived from aqua, meaning water. Then the Italian development, aquaccio, evolved into the Italian guazzo, which originally meant puddle or pool, came to refer to water-based painting, particularly opaque forms. Then, in the 18th century, the French adopted and adapted guazzo into their language, coining the term gouache to specifically describe opaque watercolors. The term was recorded in English in the early 19th century, eventually becoming the standard name for the painting medium we know today. How do you pronounce gouache? Oh, my volume's off.
Gouache.
I'll turn it up more.
Gouache.
Alright, this is gouache. I'll turn it up more so you can hear.
Gouache.
Boom, okay. That's cool, because that means that it has evolved. The word has evolved from Latin to Italian, French, English, and then who knows whether they got it from French or English, because both French and English things have had a big impact in Japan. But either way, the Japanese version of it is gashu. You can see right here. Gashu. I don't know what else says. Oh. So this must be real gouache, because it has a little English at the bottom. It says, gouache will dry out, crack, and may fall from the palette. That indicates to me that this is what I consider true gouache, not acrylic gouache, because acrylic has plastic in it, so it shouldn't be cracking and falling from. It usually adheres, and then it's a pain to get it off when you want to clean the palette. So I think I shall use this. I got this whole little set, probably from an Art Snacks box. So I'll use this. Add the white, and I can even test it on these test cookies. At last, using my palette. Although, oh, we've got time. It's almost break time, but we've got time before that. Speaking of break time, though, makes me want to have some of my smoothie. So I'm going to shake it up and have some. I made a pumpkin spice smoothie for today. Mmm. Alright, that's enough of that. So let's put some of this paint in here. So put it in the middle. I'm not sure how much I need, so I'm going to put a tiny amount. Err on the side of a tiny amount. This is fun. It's just like when you're decorating a cookie. You can just figure it out as you go, and it doesn't even have to be the same on each cookie, even if they're the same cookie cutter shape. Wow, even though it's just a test one, it suddenly looks so much more like a cookie. I'm wondering if I want to use a smaller brush, though. Or at the very least, just... I'm going to go back to my reference images and see. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of cool things you can do as well. Not just lines and dots. You can... Let's just try some different stuff. You can add little extra ones. Definitely looks like a snowflake now. But I do want to try a different brush. Something either thinner or even rounder. Alright, where's my lamp for in my closet? So I can see my brushes better. Maybe I can use a combination of brushes if I have a maybe like this angled brush to do the lines. Or there's this little thin one. Here's a little angled one. Now, try this one. gonna try these two. I'm thinking maybe this angled brush can help me get really nice lines for the straight lines. And then this one, I believe I trimmed it myself, but it's got a sort of flatness to the tip. It's technically a round brush, but I think what was happening was some of the bristles were coming out or something, and I just cut the little extra off. So this might actually be perfect for doing little dots. The paint doesn't want to come off. Maybe the brush isn't wet enough. Oh, we're after break time, but I'm trying to figure this out. This is one of those times where I wish I had one of those little metal tools that have a little metal ball on the end so that you may make a nice perfect circle shape in situations like this. Okay, I'm going to try doing some lines and then we'll go on break. See at least if this angled brush helps with that. I actually don't like it more. It does create these great sharp tips on here, but that doesn't look like frosting. Frosting usually has the more rounded, soft look. So I've tried it, at least. So maybe what I need is just a really small round brush to do the lines. Well, let's take a break. We'll come back and work on it some more. I encourage everyone to take this opportunity to get stretched and refreshed. I'm putting my Be Right Back sign on, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Hello everyone, I'm back. I hope you had a great break. I am all stretched out and ready to get back to work. Oh, here comes Aoife. Yeah, you were late to the party, so you have to take the smaller bed. Chappie took the big one. See Aoife's ear right here. You go get in the little bed. Little bed. I got to get back to work. She's looking at me like, why don't you keep petting me? Just go ahead and keep petting me. There you go. Yeah, go ahead. Go get in your bed. Okay, I'll stop patting her. There she goes. There you go. Good girl. So you can see, oh, big yawn. You can see Aoife and Chappie's butt. I'm going to look for a smaller brush. Okay. Got myself a couple of options. Small and extra small. Let's try them. See what kind of lines we can make. Here's a small one. Gotta wake this gouache back up. Okay, I think I've got enough on there. I like this one, but it's also giving me that pointiness, which I don't want. I want it to look soft and frosting-like. So we won't use this one either. Just rinsing it out. Make sure I get all the paint out. Of course, since it's gouache, as long as I get it wet again, it'll clean out. But I like to rinse it out as good as I can right away. So let's try this really small one. It's a size 000, it says, although I have one of the same size. It's just a 0, so it depends on the brand. Sizing is specific to the brand, it seems. Okay, let's see what this one can do. Well, that's nice and round at the end. It pulls up and creates a round mark. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I think this is the brush I'll use. These are the lines. It's doing really well for that. I haven't tried it to make dots yet. Let's try doing some dots. Trying different angles where they're straight down, different angles of the brush, I mean, or from the side. It seems like the side is actually better for making a circle. It feels like straight down should be better, like you just go boop and a circle will happen, but it's not actually working that way. Because what happens is the bristles bend and then you get a little extra mark on the side where they bent over and touched down. Man, it is super fun painting this. And these are just the test cookies. I actually like both of them. Even though these marks were made just to figure out which brush to use and what technique to use with the brush and everything. And I think I also want to test layering the paint. Because despite gouache being an opaque medium, you can still see through certain areas because you need it to be wet in order to spread it easily on the page. That means it's going to get thinned out a little bit. You can especially see it on those little spikes coming out there. So perhaps adding a second layer of paint will remedy that issue. That does seem to do the trick. I haven't even repainted everything on this snowflake that I'm working on with just a few lines. Makes it feel like the whole thing is more opaque. Let's try it over here where it's really obvious some of these lines are not very thick. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's great. But another example of why it is really important for me to get this started. Started this in September. It's a Christmas card. Maybe people are thinking, what the heck? It's not Christmas yet. It's Christmas every day in my heart, though. Anyway, the techniques I like to use in my illustration dictate a large amount of time to complete. So, to get this done in time to send as Christmas cards, it had to get started early. It's not dry yet, but here's the difference it made. So that top right one is the one I just painted a second layer on. The top left one is what that used to look like, so it makes a huge difference. So definitely want to paint twice. I'm going to actually write that down so that I don't forget. Make sure my brush is nice and rinsed off. I'm going to put these brushes over here because I'm not going to use them right now. Two layers of gouache. I wrote that down there so that I hopefully remember 2 layers of gouache. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to start on my final cookies. I'm going to let it dry because I'm left-handed and I don't want to get paint on my hand, which then might accidentally get transferred over here. So, let's read some more poems. From Falling Up by Shel Silverstein. I never know if it should be Silverstein or Silverstein. Guess I should look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Just like I looked up gouache. How to pronounce Shel Silverstein. Oh, this is Silverstein. And here's someone asking, Silverstein or Silverstein? There's 20 ratings for this pronunciation.
Shel Silverstein.
This is clearly a German. Listen to this, definitely German.
Shel Silverstein.
Shel Silverstein. That's different from what a different website said. Ah! I wish I could hear it from him. How to pronounce Shel Silverstein, the definitive guide. The heck? There's a definitive guide? Oh. I went to this site and then it took me to some spam thing, so that's sad. Oh yeah, here's another spam website for it. That's sad. Here's pbs.org. I was hoping there would be some sort of like podcast or something so I could see how they pronounce it. I'm going to search interview. So I'm not going to end up reading a poem because I'm looking this up. Interview with Shel Silverstein or Silverstein. Go with videos. Shel Silverstein on the Johnny Cash show. Interesting. Let's see what this is.
Here's what my friend Arnold Howard wrote about the fellow you're about to meet. Sometimes he wears a beard and shaves his head. Sometimes he shaves his beard and wears his head. He's writing articles and drawing cartoons for Playboy magazine. He's in Hollywood working on movies. Sometimes he's lonesome. But wherever he is, he's the one and only Shel Silverstein. And one of the most talented guys I ever met. Ladies and gentlemen, Shel Silverstein.
All right.
I know you've tried, I know you're handling a little bit of everything.
All right, that's that. So, straight from Johnny Cash's mouth, Shel Silverstein. I was so confused about it. We're going to follow. He was right there, sitting on a couch with Shel. So, that's gotta be it. Why would it be pronounced differently right in front of his face? That would be super embarrassing. Okay, hold on. It says I'm offline. Let me make sure that Twitch is just messed up. Yeah, Twitch is just messed up. Okay. I'm not offline. So I'm not going to read anything from this, though, because we just figured out how to pronounce his name. Wow, I didn't know he was that old. I mean, I guess he's not alive anymore. Hold on, let's look it up. Because that show was clearly old. That had to be 70s, maybe early 80s. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's sad. He died only a few years, or even around the same time that I ever heard of him. Says he died in 1999, and it was the mid to late 90s, maybe mid 90s when I discovered his books. Interesting. Oh, he's the one that did The Giving Tree, 1964. Wow. Okay, let's get back to work. We can read more about him next time I need something to dry. Let's actually start painting, and I'm going to get a new blob of paint in my palette so that I won't have any worries about that. I got my brush, a little water on the brush. Yeah, I want to get my cookie reference back up on my phone. Shel Silverstein. concentrating really hard to draw these lines as straight as I can. So that's why I've gone quiet. As I bring the camera down in closer so you can actually see what I'm doing. Someone being very obnoxious out there with their car horn. Different kind of day today. It's not that super peaceful kind of day like it was yesterday. Lots of neighborhood noise today. I've just been organically making this up as I go, looking at my reference images of real gingerbread cookies for inspiration. I like here, I discovered the opportunity to add little tiny heart shapes. Well, really they're V shapes, but because of the round brush stroke, it ends up looking like a heart. Well, it's a pretty cute design, if I do say so myself. I'm going to take a moment to put my watercolor pencils away, since I'm not using any of the other colors right now, and they're kind of in the way of me being able to move my drawing around. So let's go red, or do I want to start with pink? We'll do red. And then leave a space for the orange. figuring out what order I want to put these away in. Maybe I'll just put the purples in with the reds. I just don't like breaking up color groups, but it's like I have to in order to make it fit. It's also hard to figure out where this pink should go. Well, if instead of going into yellow, I went into brown after the peach. That'd be the 3 browns. Yay! So that's what I'll do. And then we'll put the yellows in here. And then black, gray, and white. There. That looks nice. So now that area is clear for me to put my drawing in. And that allowed it enough time to dry so I can put another layer of paint on it. I'm definitely ready for my next break. All this really small detail work requires me to sort of bend over, and it's really killing my back. Eva seems to be having a dream. Okay, 1 minute until break time, and I'm just going to do the second layer on these little heart shapes, and then let's go on break. Okay, I think that's good. I think the top cookie is done. Yay! Let's out my brush really good before I go on break. Okay, here, hold it up so you can see. Whee, that was so fun to paint. Didn't have any planned idea from the beginning, just sort of grew it as I went along. But that looks pretty fun and yummy, I think. So there's one more cookie to do. But it is break time now, so I recommend everybody take this opportunity to get stretched and refreshed. Let me move the cookie so it's actually visible. I'm going to put my be right back sign on, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Hello everyone, I'm back. I hope you had a great break. I'm all stretched and refreshed, ready to paint this last cookie. Well, I say last cookie. It's the last cookie out of the 2 main cookies. I also have 10 little cookies to paint, but I don't think they'll take as long. Well, I don't know, because there's 10 of them. This might actually probably will take longer. Either way, it won't be as detailed as these because there's only so much gouache icing I can fit in those little ones. First things first, let's paint this one. Okay. Get some water, refresh the gouache. It's nice since gouache is watercolor if you get what I call true gouache. If you get acrylic gouache, this won't happen, but if you get real gouache, you can always just refresh it with water. So even if it dries on your palette, you just put some water and mix it in, take the time to refresh it, you can keep using it. But like this warrant on the tubes, it does sort of crack apart if you leave it as a blob. So it's not as, doesn't have as much longevity as regular translucent watercolor, but still not bad. Oh, dryer's done. Yay. That looks nice. Let's let it dry for a second. It doesn't take very long for this to dry at all. Gonna dry for a second, then we'll put on a second layer. So in the meantime, I'll look and see if the first cookie looks like it could use more, but nope, 2 layers seems to be enough. There is a little bit of variation of the opacity, but it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, that gives it more character, I think. So, I think that one looks good. So we're just going to wait for this one to dry. You can kind of see how the bigger lines especially look a little thin, a little translucent, so we'll help those out with the second layer. These look so nice, yay! They look just like how I wanted them to. When these are all done, and by these I mean all of these cookies, as well as the gingerbread versions of my 2 pups that you see in the puppy cams here, and the ribbons. It's going to have ribbons on both sides. I guess I can show you in the composition sketch. Oh, this thing keeps trying to fall down. Stop! Fall down! Fall down! It wasn't having a problem, and now it's having a problem. Okay, there we go. Okay, here's the composition sketch. So after the cookies are done, well, the snowflake cookies. So what I just finished, or am finishing, are these 2 main snowflake cookies. And then we're going to make all these little background ones. And then these are also cookies, cookie versions of my pups. And then we'll have these ribbons on. So that will all be done in this similar fashion, doing each piece separately. It's going to go on the background, which I've already finished. It's this. And then we'll arrange and paste them collage style. So I'm going to scan in all of the different pieces and print them instead of cutting the originals out. And I realized there's a couple good reasons to do that. My first reason I wanted to do that was in case I mess up. If you're cutting into the original, if you mess up, you've got to really get creative to figure out how you're going to make it work. But if you're cutting into a nice giclée quality inkjet print version, if you really mess it up, you can print another one. But the other good reason to print it and cut that out is that the printer watercolor style paper I have is still way less thick than this. So this is really hard to cut into and cut through, especially with precision. So it'll be much easier on the much thinner print paper. Alright, that's probably long enough. Let's add this second layer of paint. Second layer of white gouache to finish off the frosting on this cookie. And man, I really want a gingerbread cookie. I've been trying to find whole food plant-based recipes for everything, so I wonder if someone has a whole food plant-based gingerbread cookie. Even if it's not exactly the same. If it's got the generally the same flavor, I'll be happy. I bet they have it, because I made the whole food plant-based no-bake brownies from the How Not to Die cookbook, and there's no reason to make any other kind of brownie because they're super healthy and taste freaking delicious. Tastes exactly like you would want a brownie to taste. And it's way faster than baking brownies the traditional way too. So maybe I can find a ginger cookie that's the same way. Gingerbread cookie. Whole food plant-based, but somebody's got one. Whole food plant-based is relatively new to me, to my life. I only first heard about it a couple of years ago. But people have been promoting it and living that lifestyle for like decades, and I never heard of it, and I might have been able to avoid some health issues if I had heard of it before, but oh well, you can't change the past. You can only learn from it so that you can create a better future. So that's what I'm doing. Whole food plant-based brownies. Can still have delicious desserts. It's just healthier. Yay! There's still a couple areas that as they dry, it's like, oh, it's not as opaque anymore. Alright, that's good. Yay! Big cookie's done. Rinsing out my brush as well as possible. We'll give it another rinse after the stream is over. But now we can set this up and add the watercolor pencil to these small cookies. Got about half an hour left in my streaming window. And I finished that blog post yesterday, so I am not going to end early. But I am going to put some chapstick on. I need some chapstick. Actually, I'll get a drink of water first. Okay. I'm gonna have to sharpen this pencil pretty soon. It's getting very blunt and it's hard to get it in the little tiny nooks and crannies. Yeah, just look at it, it's like totally flat on the end. Let's sharpen it. My favorite Rachetta sharpener. Oh, that's so nice. Yay! Quick and easy. Put these little extra shavings in the trash can though. Oh, that's so much better. I was trying to go as long as I could, but that was just too blunt. It's so hard to get these little angles. It's amusing how some of these shapes between the two sets looked so different to me from one tracing to another. It's the same drawing, but it was projected underneath through this super thick paper, and it looked very different sometimes. Thinking I might shade them at different angles so that the shadow won't be exactly the same, especially between matching snowflakes. But first, I'm just getting the basic color down. I still need to think about that shadow now, though. So maybe I'll turn it. Yeah, I'll turn it each set of 3. That way we'll have some with the shadows on this side, and then the shadows will be... I'll always do the shadow on this side, but I'll be turning the page for each set of 3. That way it will be different. Okay, and the dark brown, which I think I shall sharpen already because it's looking pretty blunt, and this one is the one I want to be the most precise. I'm able to take what I figured out from the big snowflakes and apply it here so that I can take care of those things earlier and not have to do, maybe not have to do as many layers. So for instance, adding a lot more color to the pointy end parts, since those get browned more than the middle part during baking. Oh, I missed orange on this one. There we go. Just this light. Keep blocking it with my own head. Okay, finally laid down all the color. Now we can paint them. What size brush do I want? I was using a bigger one for the bigger cookies, but that might be too much. I'll try this one that I had gotten out to potentially use for the gouache, but it didn't work out. But it might be good for this. Doesn't seem to hold as much water as some of my other options. I feel like I've had this issue with this brush before too. I guess the trade-off is precision, because I am able to get into these really sharp corners really well, thoroughly. Wow, one done. Let's try a different brush. That took a long time. Let's see. I do have this one. I don't really know that it's much different in size from the one I had been using. Well, the other one calls itself a 2. It's a different brand. This one calls it... No, the other one calls itself a 4, and this one calls itself a 2. We'll try this. Yeah, this seems better. Only more water. The bristles are like twice as long as that other brush, so it makes sense. I don't know if you can hear it, but Chappie is snoring. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to finish this today. But that's okay, because we've got all the rest of October and November. So this should definitely be done in time to send as both Christmas cards, like my personal Christmas card to my closest people, and it will be sent as postcards and prints to my Patreon members. So if you're thinking you want one, there's still plenty of time to sign up for my Patreon. Link is in my About section on Twitch. It's also in YouTube. Link is on my YouTube too if you're watching the recording. Or it's just patreon.com/Studio Mikarts. Ooh, my stomach made a grumble. I don't know if that was caught on the mic. That's what that sound was. Getting there, halfway done. I'm trying to make sure the paint reaches and covers the graphite line. So I want that to be incorporated into this little drawing instead of standing out like a support beam, unneeded support beam or something. I want it to become part of it. I'm so close to done. I kind of want to just finish these even if I go over. Oh, my back is killing me. This is the 9th hour of work. Well, a little bit less because I ended my stream. 8th hour of work. Ended my stream early the last couple days. Still, it's enough. Just sitting in this one position, doing this careful, precise work. Four more. one more. Ooh, done. I mean, they need to dry, but as far as the painting process goes, the base layer is now finished. Only 5 minutes after streaming time was meant to end. Here's a close-up look. The last few are still wet, but look at those cool little textures with the orange creating these little pops. Little pips and pops of orange in there. Like the seasoning that gives gingerbread its name. I'm trying to get this better lit. The camera never wants to make it as bright as it is. It's like, oh, it's too white. Let's make it gray. So it looks so dark, but I need to hold it really close. Will it brighten up? Some, but then it goes back. Oh well. Alright, there's that. Yay! And then I guess last look at the finished ones of the big ones. I think these are going to look really nice in the finished product. So that's what we accomplished today. Pretty good. Put this up. There. You can see the whole thing. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's live stream. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and for everything you do to support Studio Mikarts. If you're new to my channel and want to see more, please follow Studio Mikarts on Twitch to get notified next time I go live. You can also support me by becoming a Twitch subscriber to get ad-free viewing and cute emotes, joining my Patreon for lovely illustrations such as what this will become in the mail, or sending some creative fuel through Buy Me a Coffee. All the links are in my Twitch About section. I'll be streaming again tomorrow. It's Chibi Friday, so I'm going to be I have to decide what I want to do, but I'll either be returning to my Hallowed Soon project, or I'll be starting a new Chibi caricature for one of my friends. I gave him a gift certificate for his birthday, and he requested one of his friends' dogs, so there's a dog chibi coming up. So either way, it'll be a dog chibi project tomorrow. So I hope to see you then, but either way, let me wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you for watching!